It's like hydraulic fluid, I mean. Oh, damn.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to XJ6's channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to convert the hydraulic brake system on a 1988 and 1989 XJ40 with a traditional power brake booster from any year 1980s XJ6 and XJS. Now the reason why I'm doing this modification is because the hydraulic brake system on my XJ40 is leaking, which is actually a common problem for the early XJ40 models. It'll be easier for me to just replace the hydraulic brake cylinder, but my goal is to make the brake system reliable. So I know that it would be best if I could install a vacuum brake booster on the XJ40. For this modification to work, you will need to make sure that the SLS unit is not installed on your XJ40, the self-leveling system, and if it is, then you will have to convert that first with rear conventional shocks. Now there will be a lot of trial and error on this modification, but I hope that my video helps everything go smoother for you guys. So the first thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is check to see how much a hydraulic brake cylinder costs for an XJ40 and see if I could find a brake booster for it. So let's go ahead and do that first, but of course if you just want to go straight to the how-to video, go ahead and skip all this stuff. Y'all seen that? Looks like it's gonna set on fire. So in most websites, the hydraulic brake booster was out of stock. It might even just be discontinued. Don't get this part confused with the master cylinder. This part goes behind it. No look at CNG. I found one on eBay, but it was used, and who knows if it's in good condition or if it works or it'll start leaking again. And besides, it's on auction, so I don't even know how much they want. So I checked the prices on the brake boosters and I found out they were priced hella high. Like, check out these prices, you guys. I'm pretty sure you were able to get one for like $150, and at the pick and pull junkyard like $30 to $50. This was ridiculous. The best price that I found was from englishparts.com. That's where I most likely will be buying my brake booster from. But before I do, let's check my local auto parts stores and see what they say. By the way, you guys, I hit up Andrew from Jaguar Specialties and I asked him how much his brake conversion kit costs, but it was way too much for me. I'll be balling in a budget, you guys. I'm looking for a brake booster for a 1987 Jaguar XJ6.
Let me look, okay?
Okay.
Nobody has it.
No? Okay.
Let me see if I've got one of those. Can you hold on?
Yeah.
Right at $300, $198 plus $100. Oh, and then you got freight. You know, the other thing is this one does not have the push rod for the master cylinder side. You have to use the old one, so. Sorry, we don't have that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It'll be $349 for the booster. It'll be $150 for the core. You'll have sales tax, and you'll have $20 for shipping.
$20 shipping.
So,
Alright, you guys, so I ended up getting the brake booster from English Parts, plus all the extra things that I'll need for this modification to work. I spent about $450, which I still think it's a lot, but it's those brake boosters, they're just expensive. So let's get to this how-to video, you guys. Let's get this Jag back on the road. How many times am I finna be saying that? Remove the coolant reservoir. There's a 10mm and a T20 bolt. Disconnect the wiring connection. Remove the overflow relief hose. I need to replace the one on my XJ40 with a new one. Move the coolant reservoir out of the way to allow better access to the hydraulic brake booster area. Unplug the master cylinder connection. Remove two nuts holding the master cylinder to the brake booster and gently slide the master cylinder out of the way, being careful not to damage the brake lines. Remove two hydraulic lines from the booster using a 11mm and a 13mm wrench. Remove 4 nuts holding the hydraulic booster to the brake pedal box. Remove 2 rubber plugs on each side of the pedal box to allow better access to the pedal and booster pin. Remove the retainer clip. I use a small pick and hook tool to pull it out. Gently knock out the pin using a screwdriver or a drill bit. Use a needle nose pliers to get the pin out. The pedal box has 4 studs. These can be simply unscrewed by using a pair of pliers. You need to fabricate a custom bracket. You can make some templates by placing a piece of cardboard or paper over the holes on the pedal box and on the new brake booster studs. It's best to use some paper to trace the pedal box, but sometimes after working for so long and not eating, you don't really think clearly, so make sure to take some breaks. When you're happy with the template, mark up the sheet metal and start drilling the holes. You can also try taking the template to a local shop to see if they can make one for you. Luckily, one of my friends made one for me using a thicker sheet metal, but I'll be showing you guys how I made my sample. Guess I need a new drill, because I just charged the battery. Why can't things just go smooth for once? There. I drilled 3 8-inch holes and a 2-inch hole in the middle. Alright, that should do. There you go, that's our ghetto bracket by Jesse. Cut off the corners and round off the edges with a file. It needs to be nice and smooth. Be careful not to cut yourself. The studs on the brake booster are too long when lining up with the pedal box. I cut down the studs about half an inch length, leaving the nuts on to clean the threads after hacksawing them off. Just make sure that everything is lined up correctly before cutting. I feel like I cut them a little too short, so you shouldn't cut them the same length. So like I said earlier, one of my friends made this 5mm thicker plate, but there was a lot of trial and error when adjusting the brake booster to align correctly. The plate started looking like Swiss cheese. I'm sure you guys could do better than this. The adapter plate can be now screwed onto the pedal box using a flathead M8 1.25 by 14mm screws. Using other bolts or screws won't let the booster enter all the way. I'll have links to all the parts in the video description. I did have to hammer the fender a little bit just so the brake booster could fit in straight. The brake booster can be fitted on the pedal box adapter plate, making sure that it's aligned straight and the master cylinder is level. Also, make sure that the vacuum connection is in the engine side of the booster. I fitted 3 nuts and completely cut off the 4th stud so the brake booster could fit. I had to remove the coolant reservoir bracket so the master cylinder can fit. The studs on the Series 3 XJ6 booster are slightly bigger. The two mounting holes on the master cylinder will need to be drilled open. I use a 3/8 inch bit, then the master cylinder can be installed to the booster and secured in place with two nuts and washers. Insert the pin back to the pedal box connection and replace the retainer clip with a new one. I ended up using the Series 3 XJ6 pin instead of the XJ40 pin. Hold the pin on your left hand using your thumb and index finger. Use the rest of your fingers to align the booster holes. Use a flathead screwdriver with your right hand to push down the brake pedal and then insert the pin. I hope that makes sense. Because of the thicker plate, the brake lights will stay on. The brake light switch is mounted on the side of the pedal box. The bracket will need to be adjusted by simply slacking off the 3 bolts and moving the bracket forward before tightening the bolts again. Right next to the fuel regulator, there's a spare port on the intake manifold. I use a 1/4 vacuum hose and attach it to the spare connection on the intake manifold, but I believe a 1/8 hose should fit tighter and better. I then use a 1/4 adapter to a 3/8. I also fitted a Series 3 non-return valve in the line. Tighten up all the hose connections. Plug the master cylinder in the coolant reservoir wiring connections. I then zip tied the coolant reservoir in place and the hood closed with no problem. Alright you guys, the modification is complete, but whatever you do, don't start the engine just yet. The old hydraulic components need to be removed because the pump is engine driven. Starting the engine will cause the hydraulic fluid to be forced down the lines and will make a complete mess on the engine. The hydraulic reservoir is this green container. It's held down by two 10mm bolts and 3 rubber hoses are attached to it. There are 4 different size hydraulic lines connected to the valve block and 3 10mm bolts. The accumulator has 2 lines attached to it and is held down in place by a bracket. The hydraulic pump is held down by 3 10mm bolts. I was able to remove the bolts without having to remove the cooling fan using a long slim ratchet. guys found this video helpful, please select the like button. Thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Late.